Good evening. Welcome to the Gresham-Barlow Board of Education, May 7th, Business Board Meeting. We've got a new agenda-ing system, so I'll be working from a paper piece as well as an online piece. Let's see. I didn't talk to anybody ahead of time. We have our Pledge of Allegiance. Did someone want to lead that? Or okay.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Thank you. We have in attendance tonight myself, Chris Howitt. Holly Riegelman is absent tonight. Blake Peterson is present. David Ligatich is present. Dr. Myra Gomez is present. Dr. Sean Farnes is present, and we have one vacant position that is unfilled. Mr. Cook, our interim superintendent, has had a vacation scheduled for this time for a couple of months. And so this evening, Deputy Superintendent Klinger will be in attendance for us. So with that, we do have a quorum, and I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda, not having heard any changes to it, as presented.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Who was the second? David, were you the second? Okay. Been moved by Blake, seconded by David to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next up is our land acknowledgement, and we have it available in both English and Spanish. And Myra, if you would read the Spanish version first, can you get it up? Can you get the? No. Okay. Like I said, we have a new agenda system.
Reconocemos que la tierra donde está ubicado el Distrito Escolar Gresham-Barlow descansa sobre las tierras ancestrales y no cedidas de Multnomah, Clackamas, Clackamas, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, bandas de Chinook y muchas otras tribus que establecieron sus hogares a lo largo del río Columbia. También reconocemos las políticas sistémicas de genocidio, reubicación y asimilación que todavía afectan a muchas familias indígenas nativoamericanas en la actualidad. Como colonos e invitados en estas tierras, respetamos el trabajo de las naciones, los líderes y las familias nativas y hacemos esfuerzos continuos para centrar el conocimiento de la creatividad, la resiliencia y la resistencia de los indígenas. Consideramos los numerosos legados de violencia, desplazamiento, migración y asentamiento que nos trae aquí hoy.
We acknowledge that the land where Gresham-Barlow School District is located rests on the ancestral and unceded land of the Multnomah, Clackamas, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, bands of the Chinook, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We also acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous and Native American families today. As settlers and guests on these lands, we respect the work of Native nations, leaders, and families, and make ongoing efforts to center Indigenous knowledge, creativity, resilience, and resistance. We consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here today. Next up, we have citizens' requests of the board. And let me read the guideline real quick. Time has been set aside on the agenda for citizens' requests of the board. This is an opportunity for the board to listen and learn from the community. Board members are not able to respond to public comments during the meeting, but appreciate hearing your input. Public comments can be submitted in writing before the meeting or given in person during the meeting. Pursuant to Oregon House Bill 2560(3)(a), the meeting of the Gresham-Barlow School Board will be presented online to allow for virtual public attendance at the meeting. If you are a member of the community and wish to provide a written public comment, please use the citizens' comments to the board form. And do we have more of those forms that are available in chamber? Okay. And we do have some that have been emailed to us earlier in the day. If you have any that you need to submit in the next few minutes, please turn them in to Sarah Avery, our board secretary. Let's see. So we have several that have been submitted, and we have a few people that would like to address and speak their statement. We have a couple of different groups that are here with some different interests, and I would like to ask if he's present, David Hall, if you are present in the chamber. If you would like to come down, we'll have you come down. You had indicated an interest of speaking. And so we'll have you come down and have you state your name and where you're from, where you represent. And like I said, we do have a copy of your report as well. So thank you for being with us this evening.
Great. Yeah, thank you. As I said, my name is David Hall, and I was going to say many of us, but at this turnout, I think maybe several, lots of us here tonight are the parents of students who attend Kelly Creek Elementary School. We're here because we're deeply troubled by the conditions at this school and the out-of-control behavior that is often endangering our children and causing many families to withdraw from this district. Unfortunately, we are having trouble learning all of the facts, and we ask for your help tonight. We have never asked a teacher or staff member to reveal confidential information about another student, yet we strongly suspect that the district has actively discouraged Kelly Creek staff from answering our questions about what our own children are experiencing every day during class and at recess. As a result, many of our parents remain in the dark about what's going on at the school. Our children are accustomed to witnessing multiple fights at recess. Students destroy classrooms, they assault staff members and other students, and force classroom evacuations due to their out-of-control behavior. Students of color have racial slurs and hate speech hurled at them and in their vicinity, and many of these events occur on a regular, if not daily, basis at Kelly Creek, and I know other elementary schools as well. Our kids have become so accustomed to this behavior that they don't often share these stories with us at the end of the day. It's become normal for them. A recent incident at Kelly Creek involved a student bringing a knife to school and threatening to stab another child in the neck. The notification to parents only went to the parents of one classroom, even though the incident started at recess, and was so vague to the point of being misleading as to the severity of the incident. And since I submitted these marks Sunday night, there's been another incident at Kelly Creek involving a knife. A child getting a box knife and not giving it up to staff, requiring the principal and others to respond. And I don't know this for sure because I haven't gotten any kind of a notification about it, nor has any other parent. So whether I'm perfectly right on those facts or not, I'm not sure. We don't accept this as the new normal for our children in this district. We acknowledge that there may be a lot that we don't understand about the challenges facing the district. But we know that the status quo is unacceptable. It's not working and things are getting worse. We have an incredibly dedicated group of teachers and staff, some of whom are here tonight at Kelly Creek and who appear, frankly, at the end of their rope. Multiple staff have left the school or taken leave during the school year due to the stress of these problems. There are a few classrooms in particular, a fourth grade classroom and a few others, that have been so overwhelmed with behavioral problems that multiple teachers and substitutes have taken leave or even left their positions to avoid returning to the classes. They're that out of control. The plan next year now is to institute a fully blended fourth and fifth grade at Kelly Creek to evidently dilute this problem and expose even more children to the kind of behavior that has traumatized many of them and that might help explain this school's awful assessment scores due to the disruptive learning environment that is being allowed to continue at the school. So we ask for your help tonight. We ask to meet with the district management who are making decisions for this school so that we can gain some understanding of what our teachers are allowed to tell us about our own child's school and their safety within it. We want to be clear that we're committed to learning the facts and that we have many concerns about systemic issues. We want to understand who's making the decisions, who is determining how safety and disciplinary policy is being applied at our school and others, and what the district is actually doing in order to address these issues. Several families have already chosen to withdraw their children from Kelly Creek, and that includes district employees who work in the school have chosen to withdraw their kids. The decision to blend the entire fourth and fifth grade, if that decision remains in place, is going to result in even more families leaving. It's a certainty that that's going to happen. So many of us are trying to make a decision right now about where our children will be attending school next year. We ask for your help in enabling us to obtain accurate information with which we can make our decisions, and that this board and district staff do everything in their power to improve conditions at Kelly Creek so that we, the parents who all share a deep commitment to public education, are not going to be forced to conclude that we have to abandon it in order to ensure the safety of our kids. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hall. We do have the copy of your letter, and I'm going to refer this to Deputy Superintendent Klinger. She will get back to you, and she will also get back to the board about the information that you've requested. And I wasn't sure if there's something that's already in the works that's been scheduled, or if this is something that is new, that's scheduled. Okay. Okay. Okay, all right, so, we, it does say, I don't know, Sarah, do you delete out the phone number that's on here normally? Because it doesn't have a phone number for contact for Mr. Hall.
Yes, so the board members do have the contact information, but for
Public
safety,
stuff, we
yeah,
keep it off. Got it,
take that
okay.
off for public.
Okay, okay. All right, so we'll be able to get a hold of you. So thank you again for coming this evening, and thank you for the additional folks who came as well in support of that. All right. So we have several people who've submitted material in regards to the Saltquist property. And there were 3 people who had requested an opportunity to speak: James Southwick, Austin Henry, and Thomas Eubanks. And I don't know among you if you have a preference for who you want to speak first. Otherwise, I'll just call. So, and we do have your information as well. Is that Southwick? Okay. So it looks like Mr. Southwick is making his way to the front down here. All right. Thank you for being here this evening. And I'll have you state your name and your affiliation with the district, please. And then we do have your statement as well. That is part of our board record.
Okay, great. My name is Jim Southwick. I live on 5412 Southeast 22nd, which is very close to the Saltquist property. Marilyn and I have lived in Gresham since 1973. We were the first house built on the 45 lot subdivision there. We've raised 3 kids through the Barlow system. We have 2 grandchildren. One graduated from Barlow and one is at Gordon Russell Middle School. As you can imagine, at my age and where we've been there for 45 years, we've seen quite a bit of change. And as we know, change is really the only constant that we're faced with. You are, we are, in all of our lives. The property on Saltquist is really, I think, your prized asset. I look around and I haven't seen any other type of property where you actually could build in the future for what will be needed for our kids. So I'm thinking that with the breakdown of families, with the speed of change that's going on, certainly the education standards that need to be met, I would urge you to really take a look and think about whether you want to hang on to that property for the future, because it's really the only one left in the district. So I would suggest that you pause and get some facts. You're going to see other speakers behind me for the sake of time. You know, a lot of people here. But we pretty much urge you to just kind of step back and allow the district policies to proceed. It seems to me there's a lot of confusion, a lot on our part. We were here in September of 24, and we understood that the contract was null and void, and heard nothing. Then to our surprise, we start seeing signs pop up and things that were pretty upsetting to us. So what I would ask is have an open mind, listen to what we have to say. I appreciate your consideration. I've always dealt with constructive criticism, and I hope you take it that way. But we really would urge you to step back, and if there's a vote on surplusing, which we haven't seen, that I would really urge you to think about voting no. And thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. So we have two others. We have Mr. Eubanks and Austin Henry. And is Austin Henry here? Okay, come on down.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Austin Henry. I live actually across the street from Jim on Southeast 22nd Street. And my house, actually, the property behind is the Southwest property. Together with my wife, Emma, and our two children, we moved back to the Portland area. We grew up here, been away for 5 years. And we moved back for a couple of reasons. One, to be closer to family, but also give our children an opportunity to have a better education and to eventually be released into the community to give back. And so after moving, we moved in towards the end of last year. After moving in, we were made aware of the situation of the property behind us. And understanding that it's public, it's not private, started to do some digging and some thinking. And you guys all have my letter, and I'm not going to read it because, I hope that you guys have the time to read it. But just going through the policies and reading them and understanding them, I've seen that they haven't been followed from the superintendent, then the acting superintendent not coming to the board before deciding to sell, and then going down the list of the property was never appraised and the land was never offered to other state agencies, Indian tribes, nonprofit organizations. The property was never put out to the public for sale, and so just looking at all these, I took a step back and just thought about the property and what the best use of that property is. There's, I think, over 700 homes in the area that have already been built or are going to be built. And I think San Barlow High School is close to capacity. So for the future, what do our kids have to look forward to? Schools that are packed. You even hear about Kelly Creek Elementary. There's some issues there. And so to Jim's point, I really would ask that you guys would think about this property and the best use of it for future. And as I close, I just want to ask 3 questions. What is the best decision for the kids' future? I'm assuming that some of you have lived in Gresham and maybe, had kids of your own that went to the public school system or are even going to the public school system currently. And so to think about their future, and what is the best decision for the city of Gresham and for the families. I understand that growth is part of every city, every neighborhood, but with that growth, we need to do what's best for our families and for children. And then just lastly, what ultimately, as elected officials, what do you want to be remembered as for the community? And so that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you very much. I sat up here in September and also spoke in front of the board and walked away with a notion of what was going to happen, and that seemed to get turned upside down. And I do want to thank you for having me. I am a taxpayer and I live in the Gresham-Barlow School District. I graduated from Gresham High School, class of '83. What I'm going to talk about now is just how the realtor handled the property for sale, because I won't have time to address it on the agenda slides. I want to go back, and this isn't to disparage Sue O'Halloran. She's a pillar of the society. She has done lots of things for Gresham. She's an advocate for Mount Hood Community College. She stepped up for the Gresham Arts Center. So that can be true, and it can also be true that this sale was mismanaged by her office. So back in February 22nd, 2022, Jordan Eli, the then chief financial officer, contacted Sue O'Halloran by email And he said, well, we're not ready to consider selling any properties. We realize that none of our properties have been appraised, which is necessary before even beginning potential conversations with our board. And this was long before even the board even heard about it. All these documents we have been taped by public records requests. They're available on our website, which is novotenosale.com. On November 4th of 2022, Jordan Eli did sign a brokerage consulting agreement with KMO to enlist their services for 2 years to evaluate properties. Shortly thereafter, Sue O'Halloran and Darren O'Halloran led a pre-application meeting in January of 2023 with the city after they chose to look at selling Chase property and the Salquist property for the district, excuse me. Sue then sent a letter to Jordan Eli saying that although the real estate market has slowed down recently, there is interest from local developers in a relatively easy, smaller project with regards to the Salquist property. And that's the first time she alludes to several developers being interested in the property. In March 13, 2024, Sue and Darren attended a board meeting right here in this room. And again, she stated there's a lot of interest in the Salquist property by developers as it is a desirable location for home development. And this was after Hex had made the offer for 4.5, well, it says 4.5 million, but it was $4.4 million for that 12.4 acres on Salquist. So that's the second time she made the statement. After the community found out about the potential for townhomes being developed there, that was after Hex had a pre-application meeting with the city once they entered into contract to buy Salquist, and they wanted to put 149 townhomes. Sue had done the pre-application for 80 single-family residences. And so once we got wind of that, we asked how the procedures move along for sale of the property. And Sue O'Halloran answered my letter to the current CFO by stating there was not an appraisal, which was true. The school district applied for the pre-application conference, which is not true. She applied for it. The school district paid for it. And the city determined 80 lots could be developed, which also wasn't true. She submitted 80 lots to be developed, and they said that would be okay. Hex also submitted 149 townhomes, and they said that would be okay. Several local, again, she said in this letter, several local builders and developers were aware of the property, the pre-application with the city requested, and they requested they be made aware of it if the property came up for sale. So that was the third time she alluded to several different developers. Since my time is running out, I'm going to skip down to the punchline. Because of what I saw to be ethical violations, I did submit a report to the Oregon Realtors Board questioning that activity. And they wrote back and said they don't judge ethics, they judge law. And they did not find that she broke any laws with the sale of the property, which I also question. But in her response to the Oregon Board of Realtors, she did say at the bottom, I did misstate in a question related to the finance director, Dennis Clegg, from the complainant, Mr. Eubanks. In regard to the contacts made by Darren, her son, who's also a realtor at KMO, in the marketing of the property, we had a developer contact list to use, and I assumed, without confirming with Darren, that he discussed the property with some of them. In conversing with Darren, following Mr. Eubanks' complaint, he said he did not recall who he might have placed phone calls to at the time from our developer contact list. So, I have kids, I love to blame them for all kind of stuff. You know, leaving the garage light on overnight, sure. Yeah. Using the last sheet of toilet paper in the guest bathroom, sure. I don't think I would have the audacity to blame my kid for not contacting developers to sell a multi-million-dollar piece of public land. It's beyond belief. Now, what can the board do about it? At this point, the board still has the control. The district still owns the property. The sale is not closed. The board has not acted to surplus that property. There are multiple violations, which I'll get to. I know I went over my time, so I'm going to try and speed it up. But it's a violation of public policy, your own policy, DN, which is listed on the website. It's a violation of Oregon state law, it's Title 270, Title 25, Section 270. And in addition, it's also a violation of the Oregon State Constitution, which is Article 11, Section 9, which is called the Credit of the State Clause, where private developers cannot benefit from the wealth of the public. So I think, and I'll get back to those, but the board has to step up and not only not vote to surplus, but vote to not surplus this property and put the ball back in the district's court and deal with Hex. I don't think that the lawsuits that Hex threatened and that John L. Scott threatened have merit. I don't think those contracts are enforceable because of the fact that they're not legal. Thank you.
So Dr. Klinger, we've had several statements from people regarding the Salquist property. And could someone turn off that microphone, please? Pardon me? No, yeah. Thank you. The way the microphones are set up, when one is left on, it sometimes dilutes the sound. So we've had comments from a few people regarding that. I believe that there's also a meeting that's scheduled with Mr. Eubanks and Superintendent Cook. Not scheduled yet. Okay, okay. Follow up on some of that, and I realize that some of the things may also come up in the presentation that Mr. Eubanks will be giving to us a little bit later on in the meeting. And because I have some questions when we get to that part as well. So with that, there are no more people that were here to speak for public comment. So we will move on with the addition of the next phase of our meeting. Did anyone else who came in late have something that they wanted to submit? Anyone that submitted their things this afternoon? I believe Sarah got all of those listed. We had a total of 9 for the Salquist property plus the 3 who spoke. And then we had, I believe, just the 1 from Mr. Hall for Kelly Creek. So is there anyone else that wanted to submit anything at this point? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. Oh, okay. I have that down here. I didn't realize. All right. Thank you, Marjorie. Yes, I do have that one on here. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was trying to make notes of who was which section. So yes, we do have your statement. I appreciate that. Thank you for calling that out to us. So, okay. All right. With that, we'll move on to our next agenda item. This is the consent agenda. Let me get to that screen. Sorry. All right. That was memorized. Sarah, where's my words for the consent agenda? Oh, here we go. I got it under number 13 all the way at the bottom. Okay, thank you. So on consent agenda, all items listed are matters considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. The motion requires a second and a vote. There will be no separate discussion of items on the consent agenda unless members of the board request specific items be removed from the consent agenda and be placed on the regular agenda. The consent agenda items have minutes from the special work session on April 2nd, 2025, minutes from the regular board business meeting, April 2nd, 2025, minutes from the budget committee meeting, April 9, 2025, minutes from the regular work session, April 16, 2025, monthly financial report as of 2/28/2025, and personnel report, employee contracts, the AGSA and specialist 2025-27 memorandums of understanding. So with that, if there are no items to be removed from the consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So it's been moved by Sean and seconded by David to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. we're to the fun part of the meeting now. Are we to recognitions now? Yes? We've got to it? Okay. All right. So we have several student groups that are with us this evening for recognition. And I believe Jason Bear is here on behalf of Sam Barlow. And I know I have someone that I wrote down on here who is here. Ted, yes, Ted, last name Ted. Okay. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
And
Good
I'll
evening,
let you
Board,
take-
Deputy Superintendent. Thanks for having me. Tonight, I get the opportunity to brag on some Bruins and with two of our service organizations. In an effort to recognize students who achieve highly in school activities and academic programs, tonight the board has the opportunity to recognize conference and state level achievements of San Barlow High School's culinary students. 10 Skills USA students from San Barlow High School competed at the State Leadership and Skills Conference recently in Albany. The students prepared diligently to compete in a variety of career skill events in the culinary arts. In restaurant service, placing 5th, Peyton Devitt, placing 4th, Sierra Kant, and placing 3rd, Ethan Quintero. And in the baking and pastry arts, 5th place, Evelyn Bond, 3rd place, Lizzie Wyatt, and 1st place, Peyton Devitt. Lizzie and Peyton also earned scholarships to Oregon Coast Culinary Institute, and as a state champion, Peyton is eligible to compete at the national level in Atlanta at the end of June. Please come up, students, if you're here. Chef Sam, come up as well. I'll get. Parents, you'll get a chance to come up as well, so don't be shy. Congratulations.
Up, we have, is he gonna, no, is he gonna,
However you want to do it.
however you want to do it, are
Sure.
you gonna do the DECA International?
Yeah,
thing?
if
Okay, why
that's
don't you
okay.
go ahead and do that
Thank
then?
you.
Okay.
Next is DECA Distributive Education Clubs of America is what DECA stands for. In an effort to recognize students who achieve highly in school activities and academic programs, tonight the board has the opportunity to recognize the San Barlow High School DECA students. Around 25,000 DECA students from across the world participate and demonstrate their college and career knowledge and skills by participating in DECA's competitive events program recently. This year, 4 students from Barlow traveled to Orlando to compete in this year's competition. 2 teams, one team consisting of Cole Schmidt and Levi Riegelman, both seniors, and another team of Jaden Worley and Sophia Potts, both seniors. Each of these students met competency, which means that they met a minimum of 70% on overall scoring for their categories. Reaching competency is quite impressive at this level. Please join us in congratulating them for their accomplishments and Anita Lamoureux, the advisor for DECA. Come on up, students. Congratulations.
So are we with Gresham now? Okay. Oh, well, yay, I mean, save the best. for-
Honorary,
Well,
we are the mighty Gopher, right? So you're with
I-
us right
No,
now.
I graduated from Barlow.
Go
There-
Bruins.
We always,
Fun.
there's always a few
10th
exceptions to the
graduating,
rule, right?
10th graduating class, the best
We-
class ever. So,
I have met many Gophers from the ages, from graduating in the fifties around here. It's been awesome. Seeing people with their Letterman's jackets at our games with 1953. So it's a, well, yeah, Jason came up and took pictures. I have the flip phone, so there's no pictures from my stuff. It's an honor to be here, Board of Directors and Deputy Superintendent Dr. Klinger, to recognize Gresham High School students. We have many outstanding students, and we're going to get the privilege of recognizing 9 this evening. So thank you for letting us do that. In an effort to recognize students who achieve highly in school activities and academic programs tonight, the board has the opportunity to recognize conference and state level achievements of Gresham High School's science students. The following 11th grade students from Gresham High School earned second place in chemistry at the Regional International Science and Engineering Fair that was held at Gresham High School. They qualified to travel both state at PSU, and they're going to do nationals in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, around Ohio State next week. And the students I want to recognize, and the teachers. I have Cyrus Harshfield, who is their teacher, and Stephen Scannell, who will be traveling to Columbus, Ohio with the students. The students are Loang Nguyen, Ben Graham, and Jack Dillon. Would you please come on in? Congratulations. The next group of students are for the Mount Hood Community College Regional Annual High School Art Exhibit. In an effort to recognize students who achieve highly in school activities and academic programs tonight, the board has the opportunity to recognize achievements of Gresham High School artists. Several students submitted pieces of student artwork and to be evaluated and judged as part of Mount Hood Community College's Regional Annual Art Exhibit. And not only this, but I don't know if you've, starting last night at the regional library here, Mount Hood, the Multnomah here in Gresham, you'll see a variety of the high school students' art in display throughout the whole library. The opening house was last night, and it goes for the whole month of May. So you'll see some of these students' art. It's pretty impressive there. The following students earned honors at the exhibit. Reed Carroll, first place for originality. Logan Ropey, honorable mention. And Mila Ardito, honorable mention as well. If you're here for students, please come on down. And lastly, for this evening is our high school speech and debate team. In an effort to recognize students who achieved highly in school activities and academic programs tonight, the board has the opportunity to recognize conference and state level achievements of Gresham High School speech and debate students. Gresham High School speech and debate team participated in the Mount Hood Conference speech and debate tournament and had several students place at the event. Gabrielle Merg was third place in radio. Lila Knapp was third place in poetry. Lizzie Westbrook, first place in poetry, first place in point of information, and third place in Lincoln Douglas debate. And also Lizzie made it to semifinals at the stage speech and debate competition as well. So if you're here, students, please come on down. Congratulations, Gresham High School students. Barlow leaves.
Thank you. All right. It's always exciting to see when our kids are so successful, and also when the ones at the end get to see how it works and they know to come on down the line. So that's always very fun. But thank you for coming this evening. Next up, we have an update from the superintendent and district leadership. So Dr. Klinger.
Good evening. I will be sharing some remarks that were prepared by Interim Superintendent Cook. And we are going to start by acknowledging and celebrating our incredible teachers, as this is Teacher Appreciation Week. Their dedication, passion, and tireless efforts shape the future of our students every single day. So please join me in extending our deepest gratitude for their unwavering commitment, hard work, and perseverance. And Tracy, you're the lucky one.
So do I
Yeah. And we will continue on with some more exciting announcements for Gresham High School. I am delighted to announce the appointment of Aki Mori as the new principal of Gresham High School. You can just stand, Aki. I'll talk about you for a minute. He will start July 1st of this year. Aki comes to us with special education teaching experience at the middle and the high school levels, administrative experience in high school and as principal of an elementary school. Aki's first administrative job was actually at Gresham High School from 2012 to 2015. And we are very excited to have him return to Gresham-Barlow. His wealth of experience in educational leadership, a strong commitment to student success, and a collaborative approach will be a huge benefit to the Gresham High School community. We are thrilled to welcome you back to our district. It was really fun to watch Aki when he was a part of the interview process, reconnecting with staff, introducing himself to students, and we are really fortunate to have you join us. The second announcement is that John Gordon will be the new assistant principal at Gresham High School, working alongside Aki. John, you have to stand too. John also has a strong background, including special education teaching experience at the middle and the high school levels, as well as administrative experience in our district as part of our Student Support Services administrative team, where he has supervised programs district-wide. John has a long history in Gresham, including being the son of a longtime Gresham-Barlow, now retired teacher, Cynthia Gordon, who happens to be in the audience. We are very excited about John joining the Gresham High School team. I personally am just so excited for the Gresham High School community as we have brought two amazing educators and leaders to join the team. So go Gophers. Finally, as the school year draws to a close, we eagerly anticipate the upcoming graduation celebrations. The ceremonies for Barlow High School are Tuesday, June 10th at 5 p.m. at Memorial Coliseum, with Gresham High School immediately following at 8:30 p.m. Springwater Trails graduation is at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 11th at Barlow High School. And we are so proud of our graduating seniors and look forward to celebrating their achievements with their families and their friends. The ceremonies are always upbeat and joyful, and we hope that you all can join us. If you need more information or details, you can contact your high school to find out more about the graduation ceremonies. This concludes John's report.
You did very well with that. Thank you. Next up is updates from board members. I'm just going to start with Director Peterson. Quiet time.
Quiet time. Yep.
Okay.
I'll pass.
All right. Dr. Gomez.
So far, I've attended the Gresham High School art show last night at the public library. It was really fun, very creative. We have very creative, talented students. Earlier today, I attended the Grow Your Own celebration where we had 16 current district employees be recognized, including 5 bilingual teachers. So they are now licensed teachers. We have former students who are now teachers, and some are going for their doctorate. Also current employees who are now starting doctorate programs, who have received master's programs and associate's degrees. So it was a really, really upbeat celebration. We had karaoke, and you guys know who our talented singers are. Some here in the audience, I'm not gonna embarrass them, but it was a really fun celebration. That's right, John was there too. So it was a really fun celebration. And next week, I'm looking forward to being a speaker at the NHS celebration. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. Sean?
First, I want to thank the teachers. I have a son who goes to West Orient Middle School as a 7th grader, and I know 7th grade boys are insane. So thank you specifically to his teachers. But I was a teacher in the district for about 10 years, and it was a great experience. And I really thank you for all that you do. Our students are number one, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. As far as stuff that I did, I was the representative for Gresham-Barlow on the MESD budget committee. That's about as exciting as that sounds. And then I parlayed that as also serving on the Gresham-Barlow budget committee, along with my fellow board members. I want to thank the finance team for developing a great budget that's fiscally responsible. Appreciate that. I also look forward to attending several graduations, including the LE1, Gresham's, Barlow's, and MIWA's graduation.
Thank you. David?
So I have an opportunity quite a bit because I'm free during the days to go to the schools, and kind of piggybacking on this, the teachers that I get to meet, the staff that I get to meet, the principals that I get to meet, no two are alike. But many and every single one of them come up with creative ideas, and they are interacting with our students, and it's just amazing to be able to firsthand watch that. So again, thank you for all you guys do. I was able to join Mr. Cook last week. We toured Springwater Trail with Mr. Blazik. And I didn't want to bring this up. Blazik and I have an odd relationship for something that happened in the past. So I think it was nervous for both of us, but we actually had a blast. We had a fun time. They had the art department made these tape people. So think about this, like life-size people made out of tape, and they actually looked like people. And one of them was like sleeping on a bench, and we actually thought it was a student sleeping on the bench. It looked so real. But you would be walking around, and the creativity of the different students who made the different ones. It was just so, so awesome. Went right next door to Hogan Cedars. We didn't know it, but they were having an ice cream social. And I love ice cream, but due to issues, I can't eat it anymore. So I got to look at it. And all the kids were out there having fun. They had a bubble machine going on, and I got to stay and talk to 5 members of the PTA. We had some great conversations, thanked them for everything they do. It was pretty awesome. Let's see, GEBA meeting, we talked a lot about the golf fundraiser that's coming up. It's one of their biggest fundraisers. We approved, I didn't approve because I attend. I think there was one that was like $39,000 grant, 36 or $39,000 grant. It was, yeah, it was pretty big. It was awesome. I didn't know they did stuff like that. I also had the opportunity to speak at Cal to the students there about business, about leadership, entrepreneurship, life. I did a little different this time. I actually gave them 3 areas that they can ask me questions on, which was my business, my religion, and my family. Afterwards, I was surprised. I was walking out and I turned around and there's 7 students all lined up, and each one of them shook my hand, very polite, said, "Man, what a great speech! What a great interaction!" And just the students in that school, in that class, are just so ahead of themselves. You would think some of these kids were in their 20s and already working or starting a business or what have you. And actually, some of them are starting businesses already. But last but not least, my son's going to graduate this year, I hope. Um, he's going to graduate. So I'm looking forward to being there, being on stage with him during the graduation. That's probably the biggest thing that's going to be pretty awesome this year. We're planning his graduation party. So it's going to be fun. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I had a couple of things that I was able to participate in this month. We kicked off the Every Decade Long Range Facility Planning Group, made up of approximately 20 community and staff members, and we'll meet about 4 times to go over what we've done, what we're moving forward to. I've been involved with those for a couple of other times, so that tells you how long I've been around. If we do it every 10 years, don't do the math. And but I have been, a lot of those are done in order to guide where we think we need to be with bond work, where we need to be with updating buildings, and what it is that we want to have. So it was a very energetic opening group that we had, and we are led by some facilitators so that we don't wander off the path too far. We actually stay focused on what it is that we're doing. I was invited and went out and did a project out at Hall Elementary that I really wasn't quite sure if it was going to work or not. Sometimes the ideas are better in my mind until I actually put them out, in this case, not on paper, but on fabric. And what I did was I worked with the fourth grade classrooms, all 3 of them, 2 fourth grade classrooms and a 3-4 blend, where I talked about the importance of fabric, the things that's on fabric, and the things that tell a story with fabric, which is what I do. And then what I had was a project for each student was able to create a block that emphasized what was important to them, their family, their religion, their activities that they like to do. And it was very well received. And then they hung them up in their, I forget what night it was. I can't think what it is. If Cammie's here, she would know. She would tell me. But it was their family night that they had, and it was a lot of fun. And I know that it actually struck a little bit of a nerve, a good way, because I had kids come into my store with their families to say, "This is the lady who showed us how to do that. Buy some more fabric from her." I'm like, that wasn't what the point was. The point was to do the blocks, and it was very interesting with 4th grade kids. They wanted to know how to make sure that it was done correctly. I said, there is no correctly. It's how it works for you. And I really enjoyed that. So that, I'm trying to figure out how I can do that with more kids. I've also been invited to East Gresham 3rd grade career exploration, which I thought, wow, 3rd grade. I think I did career exploration, I think my sophomore year in high school. It's like, you're going to graduate, so you might as well know what you're going to do. So I get to go out and talk to them for about 30 minutes, which will be very interesting, about my career path, which has made me think about what my career path was. And then I've also had some conversation with some folks that are trying to re-energize their parent group out at Clear Creek Middle School. I was part of that many years ago when we got one going, when Mr. Cook was the principal out there. And they are trying to just kind of restart it a little bit and bring it forward. So that's been exciting to give them some information about it and provide a few things for it as well. And then I'm hoping when we get our Cal Charter annual report, they may not know as much about it, maybe they do, but there's a fabric show that's coming up in their fabric CTE section, and it's coming up a couple of weeks in May. There's a flyer on my store window, and I did not look at it today. They just brought it by for me. So anyhow, it's been kind of a busy time. We start getting towards the end of the school year already, and plenty of opportunities for us to still get into the building. So I think with that, we'll just move on to the next agenda item. So, okay, we have two presentations coming up, and after we have the presentations, we will have a board recess. So we'll take a time after that to, if you want to leave. Our first one up is the Center for Advanced Learning, otherwise known as CAL, the Charter School Annual Report. We're required to do the annual reports annually. And so we have them come and give us information about it. And this one I'm especially proud of because I, again, was part of the early conversation about when we started CAL, and they told us it couldn't be done. And then they said it won't last. And then they said, well, maybe it will last. And here we are at 20 some years that we've been doing this. So I feel like this is an absolutely wonderful opportunity for our kids. That was the best lead in I could do for you. You're on your own now.
And Chair, would you like me to introduce them, or you want to just let Jessica introduce herself?
Carla, I would love to have you introduce them. Thank you.
I would love it.
I don't know.
Carla.
I'm always like, do we read this into the? Okay, so in compliance with ORS 338-095-2, the Center for Advanced Learning, CAL, must submit a report to the district and the State Board of Education each year on the performance of the school and its students in the preceding fiscal school year. This report must include, among other things, information regarding the goals and assessments relating to student performance and a look forward at the school year ahead. Jessica Gallagher, a representative from the CAL staff, will be at the board meeting. She's already here. She's sitting right in front of you to present their report. And take it away, Jessica.
Thank you for having me this evening to the Gresham-Barlow School Board and to Deputy Superintendent Klinger, and to also Carla Gay, the Director of Innovation and Partnership. And to answer your question, the Fab Lab Fashion Show is on Thursday, May 29th at Mount Hood Community College, and you are absolutely all welcome to join us. I had to quickly look on my phone to make sure I had the date correct for you. So again, my name is Jessica Gallagher. I am the director at the Center for Advanced Learning, and again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to report this year's annual. And I'm going to very kindly, Noelle has agreed to progress my slides because I am absolutely awful with a clicker. So thank you very much. As a reminder, CAL has 6 different career and technical education program areas. Each of our program areas were founded with a need right here in East Multnomah County in alignment with district partners to maximize opportunities for our students. Each of our programs is going to offer students a pathway toward high wage, high demand careers and work-based learning experiences and opportunities to earn dual credit. Our school community is comprised of students from the Reynolds, Centennial, and Gresham-Barlow school districts. CAL's enrollment on average is around 500 students. Our school community most closely resembles that of Gresham and Centennial high schools, with over 60% of our students being students of color. Additionally, there are over 26 languages spoken by our students. Gresham-Barlow enrollment has been aggregated on this slide for the board as we serve over 275 Gresham-Barlow and Springwater Trail 11th and 12th grade students. Our largest program at CAL is our health science program, and we serve over 143 Gresham-Barlow 11th and 12th graders. Many of these students go on to serve in much needed healthcare providers right here in our community. And again, I say it every time you go to the dentist, you are likely speaking with or working with somebody who has attended our Cal Dental program. When you walk into a clinic or one of our local hospitals, one of those students is also likely gone to Cal. I'd also like to showcase our Tech Lab program this evening. This is an original program to Cal, and this year alone, they've invited guest speakers from several different industries, but in particular, the Federal Bureau of Investigation Cyber Crimes Unit. It's been a fascinating journey for our students to look into cybersecurity. The Tech Lab students are also working as interns with the Free Geek organization right here in Gresham. And I'm happy to report that they have a new partnership with Portland State's University Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department, in which they'll be coordinating some additional college credit opportunities for those students. We also have strong enrollment projected for the 4th year in a row. Gresham-Barlow has optimized their investment in the Center for Advanced Learning, and all Gresham-Barlow School District spots at Cal are full for the 25-26 school year with a waiting list. We continue to ensure that all students know that Cal is an option through robust outreach and strong partnerships with our district and school leaders. I thank you all for your continued support, and to the Gresham-Barlow leadership team for their support of Cal. A critical component of career and technical education is an opportunity to earn college credits while you're in high school. Cal students earned over 2,800 college credits last year with a tuition savings of over $337,000. There you go, for our families. Every class that students are taking is one that they're not paying for in the future. By the time our students graduate, they're earning between 20 and 30 college credits. And they're doing this to then more work expeditiously toward their career and academic goals while reducing any financial burden they may experience in the future. I'm also excited to share some data about something that we can all be really proud of: Cal student graduation rates. This highlights the positive impact of Cal, specifically looking at on-time graduation rates for students who are enrolled in CTE programs. The average graduation rate of the 5 partner high schools that we work with is around 80%. However, if we all know at this point that if students are engaging in CTE coursework, those graduation rates soar. In fact, last year, 100% of students who are enrolled in Cal during their senior year that attended Gresham High School, Barlow High School, and Springwater Trail High School graduated on time. In particular, as a student myself in East Multnomah County, it's important to me that we continue to challenge the stereotypes about what East County students are capable of. More than 89% of the class of 2025 has communicated that they are college bound, with over 28% higher than the national average. Most commonly, our students are pursuing degrees associated with the program area they study at Cal and remain in state to pursue post-secondary education. Students are also pursuing trade programs, and they're moving directly into industry employment or starting their own businesses. And we also have students moving into military service. I'm going to shift my focus to our continuous improvement plan. This all started with a need to update our mission, which had not been updated in over 20 years, and quickly grew into something much more. It's been really a redefinition of Cal's purpose for being. It's about putting students and opportunities at the center, about building strong partnerships, and ensuring that everything we do is mission aligned, student centered, and responsive. Over the past 3 years, we've laid a strong foundation. What started as an effort to kind of unify our work has turned into something really intentional, data-driven approach to how we serve our students. Through consistent voice, the addition of the Director's Advisory Council, teacher feedback, and school-wide reflection, we're recognizing the need to move beyond isolated efforts to a more integrated model of shared expectations and collective responsibility. This year's theme for us is "This is how we roll." We are marking a shift from alignment to operationalizing what we do in our building at every step of the way. This is how we roll is about how we show up. That's how we support each other and how we build a culture rooted in shared values. The Big 6 are our school-wide agreements, and they're emblematic and foundational to our work. These commitments help ensure that respect, support, safety, and trust are not just expectations for students, but are modeled and upheld by the staff as well. Our Big 6 serve as a compass to navigate complex and challenging conversations, systems, and how we serve our students with courage and opportunity. This work is accomplished in many different ways, but I'm going to showcase 3 for you this evening. In our professional learning communities, we're focused on instructional and academic best practices and the continued development of equitable multi-tiered systems of support, using data to drive and guide our policy and response to student need. In professional development in our learning efforts, we're focused on culturally responsive, strengths-based feedback. We're also ensuring that our teachers and our CTE programs are accessing the industry's best practices and professional development opportunities. We're also exploring how to manage and leverage artificial intelligence or AI in education. In our continuous improvement efforts, we're also expanding work-based learning experiences through simulation, guest speakers, internships, school-based enterprise, and on-site side-by-side industry experience. Cal is proudly partnering with over 40 healthcare entities and providers, the Chamber of Commerce here, local businesses, the City of Gresham, Arts Northwest, and so many others. And we're so grateful to those partners for their continued support of our students. Let's see. Go ahead and we'll progress. I'd like to end Cal's annual report by sharing a video showing Cal's community in action. This video captures just a small piece of what makes our school such a special place to be and was produced by a Gresham High School alum, Luelle Fantroy. Please hold. It's also why I'm not in charge of the technology, right?
Is the video posted on anywhere
We
within
can
your
make sure,
school?
Sarah has a copy as well, so we can make sure that y'all get it. You just have to promise me in the very end, there's this beautiful part where a student connects with the cameras as they're coming down the stairs. And he caught it so wonderfully that every time I see it, it makes me a little teary because it just so beautifully captures the school community. So as long as you promise that you watched the last 5 seconds now. But with that, again, I'm grateful to be here on behalf of the Center for Advanced Learning, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have for me.
Any questions from the board? Go ahead, David.
I've had the opportunity. I'm a business owner. I got a business mind, so I love Change Lab. And I love the fact that you guys are piloting the Dave Ramsey Education Foundation, and I believe I've got it coming again.
Yes.
So awesome.
Thank you.
Cal is an amazing school. Both of my boys went through Cal. If you ever have an opportunity to read up on it, learn about it, you want to talk about a gem in our community, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, could I just say,
Yes, go ahead.
just a quick one. When you talk about AI and evolving technology, what does that look like as you're kind of exploring how to implement that or integrate it for the student experience?
Absolutely. I think because we have a tech lab program that is an innovative program, and the lead teacher of that is also has their master's degree in cybersecurity. He took an early interest in artificial intelligence and that sort of technology as how it would be interfacing with us in education. And in fact, he was the first person who said the word chat GPT to me before I ever read it on the internet or found it as an issue in the classroom. And so he has taken a lead on our team in developing professional development opportunities. He's also speaking at educational conferences on behalf of AI and education, and the idea that we should be leveraging it as a tool versus something maybe that we're working against because it's not going to go away. And so, there's a lot of interesting conversation in our building around that and professional development for our teachers to use it in instructional practices and to coach our students on appropriate use. So again, that they're producing original work and making sure that they have a better understanding of privacy policy, et cetera, and some of the risks of artificial intelligence and the use of that work as well. Yeah.
I've just a general question. Are the programs full? Are there wait lists? And, how much more could we be doing at Cal?
We are out of tables and chairs and space. No, absolutely. Again, we are at capacity for Gresham-Barlow, Reynolds, and Centennial. Right now, we're projecting it somewhere near 550 students incoming next fall. Again, we'll see some attrition. Folks are going to move around, change their mind. There'll be conflicts in student scheduling. But I think at this point, just the continued support of the board and of your leadership team has been tremendous in what it means to be aligned and supporting. It's always challenging to engage in two different school environments. They're dual enrolled, so they share the identity of both these places. And that's an additional transportation need and academic need and balancing the complexities of that. And so again, the continued support of the board and district leadership is the greatest benefit to our students.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, I don't see any. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yep. So next up, we have our second presentation, and that is by Mr. Thomas Eubanks, and it is a review of the Southwest Road property sale. So if you want to come down, and then does Sarah have your slides? Okay.
I just said, dang, it's gonna be hard to find the energy to go on a rampage after the Love Fest. But I'll try. I want to thank the board. I specifically wanted to thank Sarah Avery. She's been very helpful to us. She's very neutral. She does a great job putting stuff together and communicating. And I'm not sure if she gets all that recognition, but I have heard you recognize her before. So thanks to the board, thanks to Sarah Avery. And I would also like to recognize, I think, Elliot Field, are you the lawyer for the district? Yeah, all the way up from Salem? Okay, so I wanted to recognize that he's here as well. You are mentioned in this, so I'm sure. So I just want to do a quick review on how we got to where we are. I do think that the board is sometimes conflated with the district. And in my mind, they're two separate entities. And I'm going to go over what the district has done and what the board has been allowed to do and what they haven't been allowed to do. So I'm just going to highlight, first I'll talk about how the board has the authority, or the Gresham-Barlow School District has the authority to sell property, and what role the school board plays in that as defined by the Oregon School Board Association. I'll go over a quick timeline review. I'll skip several slides because they're a little redundant, but I just want you to see the length of the testimony that Superintendent Hugh provided on YouTube. And then I'll kind of address what we feel can be done now. So the authority to sell the board, to sell property is granted to the board, not the school district. ORS statute 332-155 says a district school board may lease, sell, and convey all property of the district as may not, in the judgment of the district school board, be required for school purposes. So there's two important points to that. First of all, the board has the ultimate responsibility to sell the property, not the district. And that the board has to pass a judgment as to whether that property will be needed. The district doesn't pass that judgment. It's clearly stated that the board passes the judgment. And then the other thing that allows the school district to sell property is the Gresham-Barlow School District Policy DN. And Policy DN says the superintendent shall report to the board any equipment or material no longer suitable for school purposes. The board, after reviewing the facts and determining that the equipment is no longer suitable, shall declare the item surplus and shall authorize the superintendent to dispose of the said equipment in accordance with state law. So there's a lot that's fits into that brief little paragraph. So that DN policy we've all learned has handed down from the Oregon School Board Association. I think they're the ones that provide most of your policies, and then you either authorize them or don't. But the OSBA says that the school boards are community members, wrong one. School boards are community members, dang, technology. School boards are community members who establish rules for the district. And below that it says the board sets the policies for schools to reach the objectives the public expects. The board establishes written policies for the students and staff conduct and makes sure that the superintendent and staff work within the framework of those policies. So the onus is ultimately on the board to approve what the district does. So now I'm going to go through the timeline, and some of this I've already alluded to. But this was the email that I alluded to earlier, where Jordan Eli says that the appraisals will need to be obtained on the properties before he can go to the board. Okay? And that these are all documents that we've obtained through public records requests. And again, all these documents are available for download on the website, and that's novotenosale.com. Jordan Eli then contracts with Sue O'Halloran, as I noted before, in late 2022. And in early 2023, Sue goes to the city of Gresham for the pre-application. And after that pre-application, you'll remember I presented this in the September meeting, she found that the Salquist property was a developer's dream and the Chase property was a developer's nightmare. Chase property was listed on RMLS, and the Salquist property never appeared anywhere except, I imagine, a phone call to HEX. But Jordan Eli sends this email to James Hugh after Sue contacts him, and he says, you know, we can get this on the March meeting so that the board can surplus the property and get it listed. So Jordan Eli, the previous CFO, is acutely aware of the policy, and he knows that the board has to surplus this property. This is before you even had the meeting. So the March 15, 2023 meeting comes up, and there is no surplus vote at that meeting. It was just overlooked. Multiple other things about the property are discussed, but there's no surplus vote. So then at the end of that year, in December, HEX makes an offer of $4.4 million for the property. And there's very little information that we could get from the district that happened between that March meeting and the end of that year when HEX made that offer. So again, this all traces back to the notion that there were multiple developers who were interested in the property, and we're going to, you know, hunt them down and get the best price for you. But again, that property was evaluated on 80 individual family residences, not middle housing. So no appraisal, and again, no open bidding on the property. Several other events transpire, but when HEX does enter into contract in the property in May of 2024, they submit their own pre-application to the city, and this is for the 149 townhomes, right? And that's when all of a sudden this diagram of 149 townhomes in the Salquist property starts circulating amongst the neighbors. And we're all wondering what the heck happened. So we start making public records requests, and this is a public records request that the current CFO, who is also very helpful. He was not obstructionist at all, and he was also not favoring us, but he did his job very well. I have to commend Dennis Clegg for that. But he provided the information, and if you look at that email, it may be hard to read, but I did ask him for the names of the developers who were contacted, and it's listed right above there. And see if that it doesn't show up too well, but those are the names of the developers that were sent to me who KMO had on their short list to buy the property. And as you'll recall, I called all of those people. 2 of those 6 people represent HEX. One is Chris Anderson, who's John L. Scott from Sandy, and the other one is David Gray from HEX himself. The other 4 people I called. I spoke to 3 of them. 1 never returned my phone call. The 3 said they never heard about it. They were never called about that. And then I also asked Dennis in this request if there was any vote to surplus, and he reports down there, no document found. So the property was clearly never surplused, even though it was recognized by the previous CFO it had to be done. Okay, so this email occurs the day of the board meeting in September. And I was going back and forth with the current CFO about what was going to happen at the meeting. And he told me that he contacted Esquire Elliott Field, and they told him that they would have to surplus that property retroactively. That was the plan going into the meeting. And so at that meeting, you'll remember, the Chase Road was surplused retroactively because it was closed and the money had changed hands and it would be awkward for everyone. And then there wasn't a huge contention about that because the land is essentially non-developable in its current state. It has no public utility access. The Sahlquist property, however, came up, and there was a 20-minute mea culpa by the superintendent about not surplusing the property. And that's where we start with the transcript. And there's only one thing I think more boring than reading this and following it through, but it's watching it on YouTube over and over and over again. So I'm going to spare us that, but I want to give you the flavor of what we left that meeting with. This is James Hughes speaking. We assume that there was a motion by the board. Unfortunately, the board did not move to surplus the property. So therefore, the board cannot allow the superintendent to sell the property. And these timestamps are the timestamps on the YouTube video if you're really interested. And I know I gave you slides that were very small and hard to read. If you want them, I can provide them. He then says the Sahlquist property. So at this juncture, after talking to legal counsel, we shared with us that the district will need to actually surplus the 2 properties, and at a later time, the district would come to the board and ask if we can sell the property. So we're hearing this. You know, the community members that were here are listening to this, and we're absorbing it. That is not something that we're going to be moving forward with quickly. He's talking about the Sahlquist property again. We need to have some transparency and communication that I want to make sure that our community hears from the school district. We did not have any misintent about selling the property. This notion of communicating with the community and reaching out and having transparency is stated over and over and over again in this video. I recommend the board that you actually approve the surplus, and we are planning to put it on pause. As I said, we are planning to talk to our legal counsel where we are, but I want to assure the board that we will slow down. There's a plan forward where I can communicate directly with you and our community so that when I do ask if I would like to surplus the property, we understand what we're speaking to and what the benefits will be. All right, again, we're sitting in the audience, we honestly couldn't believe what he was saying, but we took it in. Then legal counsel who says the first thing that you need to do as a district is to actually surplus the property. So I'm not going to dwell on this too much more, but I do want to put up something that Kathy Keithley said at the meeting. And she said, she was trying to cipher out why the board had decided to surplus the property. And she said the definition of why it would be surplus, but I'm not sure that the information was ever conveyed in a white paper, that there's a basis for the decision, particularly to the community. So if we're pausing the sale, I suggest pausing the surplus until we can really be more transparent about the fact that we don't need it and make that argument about why we don't need it and communicate that better. Back to the superintendent. You really did not have the authority to give us permission. He's talking about the vote that you had in the March 2024 meeting where you approved the counteroffer that HEC submitted. He said, you really did not have the authority to give us permission because we hadn't surplused the property. I think it's semantics at this point. We did not follow the process, but there was no misintent. We're going to be taking a pause on the Saltquist property until we can gather more information and we can have some conversations with our community and with you. So if I do come back in the future, I may still want to ask the board to consider to surplus the property. Okay, I'm not even going to do any more. It's just over and over and over again. So we walk out thinking it may go back up for sale the right way. They may do some due diligence and have an independent study to evaluate the property to see if there is any benefit to it, especially in light of the 700 homes that are going up within a half square mile radius of that property. Lennar, D.R. Horton, the nursery is being developed with 270 townhomes, and then there's a small 35 townhome unit that's being put in on Powell Valley Road. That's 700 homes, and we had this conversation in September. National statistics say 0.2 school-age children per household, but the National Association of Realtors, they parse out lofts, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom homes, and they look at 3-bedrooms home, and the number of students in a 3-bedroom home can be as high as 0.7 to 1. So that's a possibility of an influx of 500 students in that neighborhood with 700 3-bedroom townhomes. I mean, it's not the time to sell your prized asset. All right, so after that board meeting, September 4th, we don't hear much, and we hear nothing actually until February. But this letter went out from KMO to HEX, and the lawyers for HEX are Schwabe, and the lawyers for John L. Scott and Sandy are Chenoweth Law Group, both based in Portland. And this letter goes out and says, essentially, the board didn't surplus, the district can't legally sell the paper, deal's off. And that is October 10th, 2024, a month and a few days after the board meeting. So a month goes by. 8 days later, that's pretty fast.
Just to give you a time check, you've got about 5 minutes
Okay,
left.
thanks, I'm almost done. 8 days later, Schwabe comes back with this demand letter saying that they want $12 million that HEX was planning to make on selling those townhomes. $12 million, now the count is 143. 12 million divided by 143 is $84,000 of profit per townhome. Then this is the capitulation email from Elliott Field to Schwabe. And he says, geez, we're sorry, just disregard that termination letter, throw it away. And I'm betting, well, I actually know, I don't think you guys knew anything about it. I think maybe a few of you did. But we've asked for the public records for that, but we didn't get any communications between the board members and the district that had any relevance to this decision being made. And I inquired as to if the board had a private meeting where they voted, and I was assured by Esquire Field that they did not. And I do believe that some of you didn't even know about the letter that got sent out in February. So that was the 29th of October. This document gets put on the agenda for the November meeting. That's 7 days after they've already capitulated to Schwabe. And this is a surplus document. and it's written by a lawyer. And I asked the CFO who was instructing you on this, and it was Elliott Field. So Elliott Field, after capitulating 7 days, still feels the need that the board needs to surplus this property after he's already said deal's back on. And I was livid with that because I thought you guys had met and had a private meeting. I even started a complaint to the Oregon Government Ethics Committee. Because if you had a private meeting to vote that would not go well. But I was assured by Esquire Field that you did not. And who made this decision? James Hugh. He didn't say his name, but he said the superintendent told him to go to terminate that letter. So I don't think the board, if the board was pulled in on it, it was in the presence of a lawyer, and the district is refusing to provide the communications that were in the presence of the lawyer. So, John L. Scott, their lawyers, Chenoweth, piled on in January. I don't know why they did. I mean, maybe they weren't communicating very well with Schwabe or Hex, because the district already capitulated 3 months ago, and John L. Scott sends this letter saying they want $2.9 million in commissions on selling 143 townhomes. So $2.931 $500,000 million, $2.9 million divided by 143 townhomes, divided by 0.5 or 0.05 or 5% commission, gives you a price of $410,000 per townhome on the nose. And they think they're going to double end both every single home, right? They're going to get the full 5% commission is what they're thinking, right? So that's a commission of $20,000 on a townhome. $20,000 in conjunction with the $80,000 to be gained by Hex is $100,000 profit and commission on affordable housing. A $410,000 home, $100,000.
So I think the board has a couple of questions. So
Okay,
if you're
yeah, let me
about
finish
wrapping
up. This is the letter that went out. I got 1 minute. This is the letter that went out, and we only got this letter from the Chair Howitt and from John Cook after one of our members of Foxy made a request. What's happening with the sale of the Saltquist property? We got this letter February 7th. That's the community outreach that we got after being promised so much more in September. Okay, I already said, I don't think the lawsuit, I don't think the contract to sell the property is going to pass legal muster, and we're giving you notice on that. If we have to hire lawyers and proceed with that, if this deal goes through, then well, at least we could claim that we tried to give notice before this deal was closed. This is my last slide. So I'm just asking that the board hold the district accountable. It's really your job as defined by the OSBA, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I know you work very closely with the district, but at this juncture, the board has to step up and make the district take responsibility for the decision to sell that property through a back channel and without process, without policy process. That's it. Any questions?
Myron, did you have a question? So I think I know that I do have a couple of questions, and I'm not sure if other board members have questions as well. There's a lot of information that was mingled in with this, and I think one of the biggest things that has been at the crux of this has been the interpretation of policy DN.
Hmm.
And policy DN is a very simple policy, and it has some very important legal references to it. The legal references do not have to be spelled out in the policy, but they are there as reference to what the policy supports. And what the policy does support in that is the sale of real estate. And that is in ORS 332.155 land. And ORS stands for Oregon Revised Statute. So I won't say Oregon Revised Statute every time, but ORS. And under that ORS, we do not need to declare property as it's defined in real estate as surplus. The disposal of district property, as the title shows on this policy, is not as good a title as it should be. And it refers primarily to books, desks, computers, things that fall under actually 279B055 and 279A that talk about disposal of things that have no value anymore. Land has value. And so I think there was some back and forth with that. I'm not aware of all of the emails that were back and forth. The board does governance and the district does operations. That's the partnership that we have between the board and the district. And the board operates as the governance piece, not the operational piece. I alluded earlier as well to the long-range facilities plan that we're required by state law to do every 10 years, which we have done. And the last one that we did was back when we did our bond. And that was back for the 2016 bond. We're currently doing another one now because it's been 10 years. And as part of that, we look at what projections are, what we have for capacity in our existing buildings, what's available in the area, and what's the likelihood of increased students. So those are the things that we look at as we make our decisions on a variety of things. And this particular one, again, has more components to it that don't apply to land whatsoever. Sealed bid, low price, doesn't have that in it. So it's the things that come into play on any of the district assets that are not part of confirmed use. So those are statements that have come up in conversation about what it is that happened. And when the policy review committee, which we have, that meets when there are policies that need to be updated as laws change, as things change, and that policy review committee has been made up of, at different times, myself, made up of previous board members. Myra Gomez has been on that. Kathy Keithley has been on that. It has had as well, in support of that, usually the superintendent does not sit on that committee. It's directors within the district that do. And we get updates from the Oregon School Boards Association. And so we review those. This one had not come up for review because the law has been set for a long time. The law didn't change. And
Did you have a question? I thought it was a question. Do you have a question
the question
for me?
is your interpretation of how you're getting to DN saying that it doesn't apply to the property.
I didn't say it didn't apply to the property. That's not my contention.
You're talking about it being disposal.
I'm saying that the board has to surplus the property before they sell. Dennis told me in an email that there was no other policy except for DN which pertained to the sale of the property. I took him at his word. So if there's no other policy, the board's got to surplus that property before it gets sold. That's your own local policy. As far as Oregon's revised statute, if you're going to draw that in, because it's not referenced on that page, I looked at every single law that's referenced on that DN page. And if you're going to pull in ORS 332-155, because it doesn't have to be listed, then you got to pull in Title 25-270, which is disposal of public lands.
I beg to differ, sir. I'm looking at the copy that I pulled off of our website today.
Yeah.
It's been on there. So it does list RS 332.155.
It didn't before.
It has been
Yeah,
on there.
I looked,
wouldn't
it
have a
mostly had to
revision
do with depreciating asset sales.
So the
That's what
last
that
time that this
policy was.
policy was revised was back in 2015.
Okay. All right. Well, again, even if it does pull, even if you are referencing 332-155, the board has to make a determination that that land can't be used before it gets sold. That's what it says. Yeah.
Blake has a question.
Mr. Eubanks, could you elaborate a little bit on the pre-app processes?
Sure.
Both between a KMO and then the developer.
Yeah, this is an education for me too. A pre-application is when someone who owns land or is interested in buying land or is in contract for it goes to the city with a proposal. And I don't know, it costs $2,400, which the district paid for. And there are people who lead that meeting, and Sue and Darren O'Halloran led that meeting. Terry Taylor and Jordan Eli were present from the school district at that meeting. And they say, well, you know, we want to put in they come with a proposal, and the proposal that Sue submitted was 80 single-family residences. And they have a city engineer there, they have water there, they have fire department there, that's why it costs so much, and everyone weighs in on what could be done there. And then the pre-application, the city of Gresham says, yeah, you could probably do that. You could do that. You still got to go through all the hoops. You got to do a land use application. You got to have an early neighborhood notification meeting. You got to do all that stuff. But they don't tell you what you can put in there. And at one point, I didn't get to it, but at one point, Sue said in her defense letter to the Oregon Real Estate Board that the city was requiring, she actually said this, the city was requiring HECS to put in middle housing. I immediately sent an email to Tabitha Bichetti, who is the planner who's responsible for that property, and she flat out said, no, we don't require builders to do anything. And I have that email. So that's the pre-application. You go and ask, the city says yes or no, but they don't tell you. Although Tabitha Bichetti, who did the pre-application, also said, you know, you can put middle housing in there. I watched that whole meeting.
The timeline, let me look at my notes. You had January of 23 was the pre-app.
The first
between
pre-app.
KMO, okay.
The
and
first
then-
pre-app.
And then when was the pre-app?
May of 24.
May of 24.
Because you guys approved the counteroffer in March of 24 at the board meeting. That the CFO signed that document at the end of March. And so you were in contract with HECS at the end of March. They put together all the paperwork for the pre-application in May of 2024.
My question has nothing to do with the policy. I'm more wondering what's wrong with building additional housing. I grew up in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment with 6 people, so I didn't have a guest bathroom. And so I'm like just trying to figure out what's wrong with building housing.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, I'm sure this whole thing can be construed as a not in my backyard phenomena. Yeah. No. Oh, well, let me tell you this. I'm more of a fan of Niabi, which is not in anyone's backyard. This is a catastrophe of zoning. It was zoned LDR 7 along that fence line for a reason. And then it was zoned LDR 5 for a transition. And middle housing is not meant, I like middle housing. I have no problem with it. It's not meant for this development. Middle housing, you know what's the walkability score? Have you even been to the Salquist property? Okay, is there a sidewalk there? No. The walkability score is exceedingly low. There's no mass transit out there, right? So if you build 200 or 143 homes, everyone's going to drive. Everyone.
Reynolds for a long time didn't have public transportation to take the kids there. That's what the school buses were for.
Yeah.
And then that was solved. So
I'm not just talking about school buses. I'm talking about people who are going to Mount Hood for school. People who are going into Portland, going to the freeway, going to shopping. I'm talking, middle housing was not designed for 12.4 acres out at the end of the urban growth boundary. It was meant for infill in cities, and I think it's a fantastic thing. And I've done more research on it than I care to admit. Middle housing in those situations for a vacant lot actually elevates the value of the homes around it. This particular case where you have mass middle housing put into a neighborhood that doesn't support it, it lowers the home value. So I don't have anything against.
I do have a question for you.
I don't have anything against middle houses.
So the district sold the property
Not yet.
and we don't have control over how many houses are built, whether someone built one house.
District has
or
not sold the
500
property. You're in
4,000.
contract. You're in an illegal contract for the property. You haven't sold it.
So I'd rather not have comments shouted from the audience, please. You did have an opportunity for public comment, and Mr. Eubanks does have the floor at this point. So we've had the presentation. It is a informational presentation only. So anything else that you have, Blake? Anything? Okay, David, or
This is a hard one for me. So I know a lot of you guys and I used to live in that neighborhood. I don't know what's going to happen from this. I'm a community member. My kids go to school. I know that area very well. I've lived in that area since 2001. We just moved. When you say that the city originally declared 80 homes and then all of a sudden it went to 143, is there a fight there?
No, the city didn't declare anything. The city just granted permission. Sue misleads in that email to Dennis Clegg. The city didn't say you could put 80 houses on there. Sue asked if they could, and they said yes. And then Hex went and asked if we could put 149 townhomes, and they said yes, because the zoning allows for it with this law that was recently passed, the House Bill 2001, whatever it is. So it's not that the city said this and now they're saying that. The city just said, yeah, you could do that, and yeah, you could do that. Sue has to take responsibility. She led the district down this path. And I think it's what makes the contract illegal.
With, because I know you said you'd gone to a board about Sue and they had found nothing.
They didn't find nothing. They didn't find anything that they could determine was illegal.
Okay, so they didn't find anything that could determine was illegal. Sorry, this is a little over my head.
Yeah.
What are you, I know ultimately what you're looking for is to have it be something that it is going, that it's not going towards, right?
I don't want to characterize it that way. I don't want to
I'm
interrupt you.
not trying to characterize
I'll
it.
characterize it this way. I want the sale to be canceled, and I want it to be done the right way. I want there to be notice. I mean, I don't know. If you look at the Multnomah County sale of their downtown library, by the way, which was sold to Gresham, I made a public records request for those documents. One of the paragraphs reads, the board for Multnomah County surplus the property, which started a 21-day notification period to all the neighbors in the area, and then we sold it to another government agency. They followed Title 25-270 right down the line. You can't argue with it. But it's unfortunate because you guys all have other jobs. And I couldn't imagine doing your job. I couldn't imagine all the things you have to know and do. And the district comes to you and says, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. And you guys ask them questions at the board meetings. I read them. But it would be 60 hours a week just to stay up with what you're voting on. And I don't envy you. But this one has blown up. And you got to hold the district accountable. And look, they wanted out. They wanted out of the sale until they got threatened with a lawsuit. And the lawsuit doesn't materially change anything that happened that led up to that point. You got to get a backbone and stand up. I mean, you made commitments to your community. If this goes through, we don't trust you. That lasts a lot longer than a lawsuit does. So I don't want it to be something else. I want it to be done the right way. And with Title 25, it has to be offered to neighbors. And neighbors inquired about that property, and Jordan Eli lied about it, said it's not for sale. I have the emails. I sent it to you guys. I don't know if you read them. I send you so many emails, you probably get tired of me.
So are there any more questions of Mr. Eubanks? Okay. Okay, Sean, go ahead.
This is a very tough situation. I live nearby, and I get it. And there is that potential lawsuit out there of 12 million, another 2 million, 14 million. What if we lost? That's $14 million that our students wouldn't have.
Yeah,
And we're already facing a budget
yeah,
crisis.
I know, it's a tough spot for you. What if you did lose? What if you go ahead with the deal and the community can't trust the school district anymore? The next bond measure that comes up, this is gonna take a long time to go away. You know, we'll make sure of it. And there's nothing that's gonna stop us from suing. If we've given you notice, we've done all we can. Your lawyer knows, I sent threatening letters to Heck's lawyers and to Chenoweth for John L. Scott. I said, you may be due the amount of money that you've invested so far, but you certainly don't have the right to claim the income from an illegal contract. And Oregon judges do not like public land being sold like this. They just don't.
Okay, Blake has a question, and I think we're going
That's
to
fine.
see if there's a response from our attorney, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, my question is about your experiences in this pursuit for information, Mr. Eubanks, and that is, have you perceived obstruction or obfuscation from members of representatives of Gresham-Barlow School District related to freedom of information or any other public record
No,
request?
no, I haven't. They've been really forthcoming about it. Been very honest about it. Lately, we had a public records request shut down because of client illegal issues, lawyer-client privilege, which I'm sure is the correspondence that James Hugh had when he was mulling over whether to cancel the termination letter. I'm sure he talked to somebody on the board, and I'm sure he did it with Esquire Field on Zoom conference, so it's privileged. But he wouldn't make that decision by himself. He
Right,
just
Blake,
wouldn't.
Yeah, I do. So, and I'm just kind of asking you to have the floor. I'm asking for a couple more minutes for you in light of that. And I think you've alluded to it in parts. And so asking, and you obviously don't have to respond if you don't want to, but just kind of a final opportunity to summarize or characterize over your timeline what happened in you've gone over it in detail.
Yeah.
But kind of an opportunity to get your last communication about how you would characterize this whole interaction.
Well, I think the
Not this
district,
one, but over the whole time.
yeah, I think the district they wanted to get a building for administration, and they looked for ways that they could liquidate assets to build up a fund so that they could buy a new administration building. And they had hopes for this library in town, the old library. And they got enthusiastic about that, and I think they led the board down this trail. And Jordan Eli, I think he knew what he had to do. They just missed it. And all of a sudden now you guys are doing something that the district really isn't authorized to do. And James Hugh, God bless him, he walked it back. I mean, it was a painful testimony that he gave. You could see that he was seriously hurt by what had happened. You could tell he didn't like to hurt people. So, and then he feels, okay, his conscience is clean with the termination letter. And then the lawsuit comes and he's thinking, oh my God, I'm going to go out of here with a $15 million settlement against me. And like I said, the lawsuits don't change anything that transpired before. You may be shaken a little bit, but or the district may be quivering a little bit about, their $9 million surplus is going to go out, but it's not going to go out. It's not going to go out. It may be litigation, or it could be a negotiated settlement. I don't know. But I think you got to at least start talking to us, because we were promised that.
So Mr. Field and Mr. Shuba, if you would like to respond to any of that for the board. And for the record, if you would state your name, and do we need another chair up there? Is there another two chairs? I can't see back there.
Good evening, Board Chair, members of the board. Elliot Field, legal counsel for the school district. I'm here with my colleague, Kevin Shuba. I'll just keep my remarks brief and factual. Echoing some of Mr. Eubanks's remarks and also that of the board chair, the governing statute for disposition of property is ORS 332.155. And it says specifically that the board may sell all property of the district that is not in their judgment required for school process, or excuse me, for school purposes. There is a board policy DN that the board chair described that makes reference to 332.155, which also addresses sale of other items like personal property. The disposal of district property under board policy DN covers the specific language, talks about the obligation of the board after reviewing facts and determining that the equipment is no longer suitable, shall declare items surplus. So it's silent as to real property. The judgment of the school district, of the board, making the decision to sell real property, that's not required for school purposes. Looking at the board record going back to 2021, there are staff reports that are reported to the board and received by the board about the Southwest property being underutilized. 2 years later, in 2023, there's reports to the school district board about the Southwest property not being needed for educational purposes, specifically reference to it not being large enough for a middle school based upon the district's existing parameters, and that it will likely never have an educational use for the properties. I think this spurred forward the interest and provides the board in the minutes that they adopted the information that needed to reach in their judgment that it was not required for school purposes to fulfill the obligation under ORS 332.155 to approve a counteroffer for sale, which they did, the board did, in a public meeting in March of 2024. Mr. Eubanks makes reference to a particular Title 25, Chapter 270 around the conveyance of certain lands. And those that chapter and those provisions do have very specific parameters for prerequisites and obligations for the sale of land, but that pertains to state-owned property, which is significantly different from what we have here as a school board, a school district board, not an owner of state land. So there's a fundamental difference as far as process. There's a fundamental difference from requirements. So in March of 2024, when the district voted to approve the counteroffer for the sale, based upon the long history dating back to 2021, before this board, they had met the criteria of, in their judgment, that it wasn't required for school purposes.
Any questions by the board? Yeah, Mr. Lee.
In my head, I have a idea, so I'm thinking strategy. Who would I go to? Who would I talk to that's doing the sell to say, hey, I have this idea, and can we start looking into it? Would it be you guys, or would it be somebody at the district?
Specifically, board member, what would your inquiry be? Or what are you thinking in terms of subject matter?
Yeah.
So if a board member has some ideas about possible solutions that maybe he does not want to vet publicly, are you the right people for him to do some brainstorming with about possible solutions?
I think the recommendation would be to start with discussing it with the superintendent as far as gathering information, and then the superintendent if there is a specific legal question, if there is a specific property question, as far as that process and funneling it that way, that would be the suggestion.
I'd like to set that up.
We'd be happy to help.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here and helping us navigate this. I wonder if you would be willing to talk about what's been characterized as kind of an evolving interpretation of the need to surplus. Can you address, particularly because you were referenced in that part of the conversation?
Yeah, I can reference that, board member, just very succinctly. Is the narrative that I gave briefly of what occurred in 2021 and then what occurred in 2023 leading into 2024, going through the process of surplus, whether it's in a specific board action or by way of a resolution, it's a way to aggregate and organize all of the different artifacts that led to an ultimate decision on the part of the board that in their judgment, it was no longer required for school purposes. So it's a helpful tool to have, but in consulting with ORS 332-155, it is not a prerequisite for a sale.
And we took the opportunity just before the meeting to review the board's history on this, which Mr. Field has covered. But each one of those references is to discussions that occurred in your sessions, some of it were before your tenure on the board. And those sessions involve discussions of not only the Southwest Road property, but other properties that you have and manage, as well as characteristics and their usefulness and whether or not should be retained or should be liquidated. And those were in open session with minutes that were approved by the board. So there's been a public process that's been ongoing as you guys have set up that discussion to occur relating to how you manage the property, the properties that the board owns.
No, I respect you guys. I respect the district. I respect the members of this board. I respect the members of this community. I respect the process, even though I don't understand the process 100%. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm a businessman. I sell pancakes. So, but if there is potentially a way to make everybody happy, I'm more than willing to try and make that work. And I have an idea I don't want to say publicly. But if that idea is something we can do, I'd like to know.
We're happy to work through channels to have that conversation and give you whatever resources that we can provide.
Oh, okay, sorry. Director Peterson has another question. So I've written down your comments, David.
Again, if you're willing, did you ever, in your engagement on behalf of the district, I understand you communicated with Friends of Kelly Creek and you communicated obviously with the developer's legal representation. Did you ever engage directly with the developer themselves or the real estate agent that represented the district's interests? Or were those the only parties that you engaged directly with?
I'll just say when my limited interaction was individuals who were represented by counsel was with their legal counsel. And through those communications that Mr. Eubanks has gathered, it's likely the entirety of that record of exchange.
My number one priority is the students in the district. And that's why it gives me pause if there's a lawsuit for $15 million, because that's $15 million that would not go into the classroom. Mr. Eubanks' contention is that we would win that lawsuit. What's your opinion, if I could ask? It may not be appropriate for me to ask publicly, but
Lawsuits are unpredictable. You know, I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you exactly what would happen, but lawsuits are unpredictable. I will tell you that expectation damages are a real thing. In a contract that's been breached, you can claim that once breach is proved, that your damages are measured in a particular way, and expectation damages are one of those things that are accepted in Oregon courts. So that is a place where perhaps Mr. Eubanks and I disagree.
Any other questions from the board? Appreciate the time that people have spent on this and the conversation that we have had. I've made some notes about some follow-up with that. I think at this point, we are not going to make a decision tonight. We need to have some discussion. And I think with that, we will take a 15-minute break. So we'll be in break for 15 minutes. The board will not discuss the items independently with folks. We are still in our board meeting, and so we're not. And so we can have conversation, but not conversation about outcomes or possible routes of doing something different. We will reserve that for a board conversation at the appropriate time as a called meeting. So with that, I will put us into a 15-minute recess. Thank you. Are we back? All right, good evening. We're continuing the meeting of the Gresham-Barlow Board of Education on May 7th, 2025. We've just finished a couple of presentations, and there will be some follow-up with the board as well as some of the community members that provided that. Looking at our agenda, we have, let's see, we just have for review, community meeting minutes, policy review, and district equity committee. And then we were up to right now association reports. And we have with us this evening representatives from the Gresham-Barlow Education Association and the Oregon School Employees Association. I'll let you guys figure out who's going to go first. And then we do get into a couple of action items. So,
All right. Good evening, Chair Howitt and members of the Gresham-Barlow School Board. My name is Tracy Jackson, second grade teacher, Hall Elementary, and GBEA Vice President of Elementary. I want to thank you for the opportunities that we've been given to speak at board meetings this year. Our collaboration is important, and the voice of our school staff and members deserves to be heard. As we enter the final weeks of the school year, it's done with some level of apprehension and uncertainty for the new school year to come. Budget cuts and downsizing, no matter how carefully planned, threaten our students, especially our most vulnerable populations, and it'll fall to the already overburdened teachers and staff to correct the imbalance. The district and school board student support statements reaffirms your commitment to the most marginalized populations and further commits to ensuring our students realize their academic goals by minimizing barriers and limitations that befall them. It's confusing to read that published statement and then to learn recent budget decisions have cut all reading specialists from elementary schools. This decision will surely have detrimental consequences to all of our students moving forward, but to the schools directly affected, it's a gut punch. Cutting staff at the building level while adding admin elsewhere furthers the problematic model in education. Decreasing funds and staffing at the building level will most certainly result in higher class sizes and less behavior support, which in turn gives way to more disruption in the classrooms and loss of learning time. We have amazing teachers and staff in this district, but the superhero myth is cruel and difficult to live up to. Phonics curricula like 95% and ECRI are good additions, but not magic bullets, and are not meant for whole group instruction. Most students need the kind of instruction provided by reading specialists and their team. Splitting a specialist between schools, which is one proposed solution, and making them program facilitators only further removes a qualified teacher away from buildings that need them. It places the heavy lift of the program and behavior management on the plates of the EAs and paraprofessionals. There comes a time when doing more with less is too big an ask, and we have long passed that time. As you look towards next year, I implore you to put the district's limited resources towards the supports that are at the building level and will actually support our students in their academic goals. Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, Chair Howitt, Board, Assistant Superintendent, Deputy Superintendent. Deputy. Good evening, Deputy. Yeah. Good evening. Letting you know that we are excited for teacher appreciation and classified across the district doing their best to recognize the teachers in their building. I know at Barlow we've supplied treats for a couple of days. It's been fun, really nice, doing what we can to recognize our great teachers. We are going to be having our executive board election soon, so we won't have an update until June, but I can tell you, if you didn't know already, that co-president Randy Ferguson is retiring this year. Yeah, afraid it's a done deal now. They've already accepted her paperwork, as hard as they tried not to. They did. So we will be having that, and I think that's probably all I really have.
So we'll need to make sure that Rennie comes back for one more board meeting to make sure that we could properly say goodbye to her. So absolutely. And she has been a phenomenal support person and has been definitely a good representative for your organization.
She
And
has.
has been amazing all the years that I've known her, so.
She has, and I will do what I have to make that happen. Felony or not.
Yes, so I will, the next thing that we have up is the elementary health materials adoption, and that's gonna be Heidi Lasher. And I will say at this moment, if we all close our eyes, I will allow our last two speakers to make their exit because they have a school day tomorrow. And I deeply appreciate that you were here this evening. And thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here for the board meetings. And I'll just close my eyes and I won't notice that you're gone. Except I'll notice that I won't notice. Thank you.
Good evening, Board, Deputy Superintendent. The Oregon Department of Education reviewed instructional materials in 2024 and formally recommended materials to meet the needs of the district's health classrooms. The materials currently being used are in need of an update, and the health adoption process is not scheduled to take place again until 2031. Beginning in October of 2024, the elementary team met and decided to adopt the single ODE-approved elementary curriculum, the Great Body Shop. The Great Body Shop is the curriculum we are currently using. A team of 12, including teachers and coaches, reviewed the Oregon Health Standards and the Great Body Shop curriculum. The team determined to continue with the Great Body Shop. The Great Body Shop is available in Spanish, and our teachers, students, and community interviewees are familiar with them like the materials. If authorized to move forward with the adoption of these materials as the district's primary resources for health instruction, they will be in all elementary classrooms for implementation in the fall of 2025. Professional development will be scheduled for the 25-26 school year. The board is being asked to consider the cost of health adoption materials up to $300,000.
So this is an action item. There's a question about the brief introduction to this or a motion to, I know there's a motion on here.
I moved to, well, a brief statement before. This is not our first reading of this, and we've been talking about this for a while. So I hope the community wouldn't see us being too hasty with this. We've seen this for a while. So I would move to approve the purchase of the Children's Health Market, the Great Body Shop 7-year subscription with a not to exceed amount of $300,000.
Need a second? It's been moved by Blake, seconded by Myra to approve the purchase of the Children's Health Market, the Great Body Shop, 7-year subscription with a not to exceed amount of $300,000. And as Blake did mention, we did get a first reading on this at our April 16th board work session. So are there any further questions or discussions about this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
Is the secondary health adoptions, Dr. Collins?
All right. So this information was, ooh, this is loud. Are you awake? It's 9:30. No kidding. This information was presented to the board for first reading at their April 16th meeting in 2025. So this is just a review. The Oregon Department of Education, ODE, reviewed instructional materials in 2024 and formally recommended materials to meet the needs of the district's health classrooms. The materials currently being used are in need of an update, and the health adoption process is not scheduled to take place again until 2031. Beginning in October of 2024, a committee of teachers, administrators, and coaches spent multiple sessions evaluating health curriculum resources from the ODE approved list. The committee looked at specific criteria and used evaluation tools designed specifically for evaluating the alignment of materials to the health standards and proficiency expectations. Parents and students were offered multiple opportunities to review the materials and provided feedback. Final committee recommendations were going to be provided at this meeting, and so if authorized to move forward with the adoption of these materials as the district's primary resource for health instruction, they will be implemented in classrooms beginning in the fall of 2025. The board has been asked to consider the health adoption of the following materials. Human kinetics for high school at a cost of $98,832.
Goodhart and Wilcox is the middle school health curriculum they're recommending for $109,747. So the total not to exceed amount, including shipping costs and a little bit of a contingency, is $244,255 for a 7-year subscription for these health materials.
So I think Director Peterson has a question about the amount.
Yeah, it looks like we had the high school materials, the middle school materials, and then shipping sort of aggregated in the grand total.
Correct.
Is there any way to split those? My concern is I think we should have it as 2 separate motions since it's 2 different publishers and 2 different contracts. But is it a single contract?
Yeah, single contract through Northwest Text. Yeah, so all of our textbooks are being ordered through Northwest Textbook specifically.
Because the motion that's been suggested is with the selection of GW Publishers Comprehensive Health Skills for middle school and a separate one for high school. It does seem a little bit odd to have one motion for 2, but you're saying we buy it through a single company that has both of these? Are we
Yes,
missing- it's late. Are we missing something?
No. So Northwest Textbook Repository is the organization that we go through to purchase our texts. So they partner with ODE. So when the contract is set by the state, Northwest Textbook is the one that guarantees the contract, as it were. So we have 2 options. We can actually purchase directly from the publishers, or we can purchase through Northwest Text. They provide excellent service, and the costs are the same. So we prefer to go through Northwest Text as one organization. So it might look like 2 separate billings, but it's one purchase through Northwest Text.
So before I maybe work up a motion, what I'm thinking out loud might work is we keep the motion as is, and then perhaps add for an amount not to exceed with Northwest Textbook. Would that work? Would that satisfy your needs to purchase?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
I think
Tracy,
then it's a
let me
single
just confirm
contract
with
and we
you.
have the,
Yeah.
And then we have that better.
that would make me $935 more comfortable.
Okay.
So
That works perfectly for
okay,
me.
then let me work on this. Northwest Textbook Repository.
Yes.
So I would move to approve the selection of GW Publishers Comprehensive Health Skills for middle school curriculum and Human Kinetics Live Well Comprehensive High School Health Curriculum for a not to exceed amount of $244,255 through Northwest Textbook Repository.
So it's been moved by Blake, seconded by Sean, to approve the selection of GW Publishers Comprehensive Health Skills for middle school curriculum and Human Kinetics Live Well Comprehensive High School Health Curriculum through Northwest Textbook Repository for a not to exceed amount of $244,255. Does that get it? All right. Is there further questions or discussion on this, on the motion? This is also part of a long-term, this is part of a 7-year.
This will be a
as
7-year
well. Okay,
subscription, correct?
okay, yes.
I'm new to adopting textbooks. Does that mean that shipping's $35,676?
So what I did is I put a 10% contingency in
Okay.
case if population at the high schools rapidly increases for some odd reason and we need to purchase more texts. So the actual shipping costs I've estimated to be $15,000, but also put in a 10% contingency in case there's a rapid fluctuation in student enrollment.
So any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Gotta get to my next part now. Next up, we have Dr. Collins, the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, MHCRC grant approval. All right, take a look.
Excellent. And I'll simply read from the board doc, and then I'll take some questions as you have them. So the Gresham-Barlow School District is seeking $118,762.22 from the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission to address a lack of video equipment and training for a substantial portion of our student population, including the majority of BIPOC students and also a large percentage from low-income backgrounds. The grant will fund the ability to purchase professional quality video equipment such as iPads, cameras, and studio gear for 3 middle schools, Dexter McCarty, Gordon Russell, and West Orient. The project aims to provide equitable opportunities for approximately 160 students to annually develop crucial 21st century media skills, enabling them to create around 150 videos each year. The success of the grant investment will be measured by surveying students on their improved understanding of video production, with a target of over 70% showing progress, and by tracking the creation of approximately 150 videos for broadcast. The initiative involves a strong partnership with Metro East Community Media, which is contributing $12,000 in-kind training and also technical support. The Gresham-Barlow School District is also demonstrating a significant commitment with an in-kind match of $156,329.19 through teacher and volunteer time. This collaborative project aims to provide lasting benefits, equipping students with vital media literacy skills and production skills. The administration has applied for the grant. The MHCRC board will be voting to approve the grant on May 15th. The size and the scope of this grant is why we're requesting board approval. So with the grant itself, just a little bit of background and history, as I was watching even the video production from Cal tonight, those are some of the things that our students will be producing with the quality of equipment that they'll be bringing in. They're looking to enhance classes that are already in place at the 3 middle schools that are listed. And so what they're looking to do is partner with Metro East Community Media to provide more opportunities for students to create productions for their schools and gain access in terms of broadcasting ability, and then using these tools that will last far beyond the scope of the grant. So questions?
Yeah, Director Peterson?
I think you just said it, but I'm gonna ask it reframed. The commitment of an in-kind match that's through staff time and volunteer time, does that reflect current programming, or is this additional resources from what is kind of currently in the programming?
Great question. So each of these 3 middle schools already have a communications media course that they're teaching. So the teachers, what you see there is basically the teacher's time or the teacher's contracts added together. So this doesn't add any additional FTE or costs. It's simply acknowledging the time that's currently in place.
Okay, Dr. Barn?
I think you answered my question. My question was, is this going to be like in a new elective? But it sounds like there's already these production classes in these 3 middle schools. It's just we're providing updated equipment for that.
Correct. So the class is currently in place. The equipment that they're using is old equipment that barely works, is my understanding. And so the request here by partnering with the Cable Regulatory Commission and also Metro East is to provide updated equipment. The other piece that we're looking at is Metro East is asking for permission to use these for some of the broadcast videos that they use as part of their community outreach. And so our students have the opportunity to produce videos really of professional quality that we broadcast here within the community. It does lead to, as we've been talking with Metro East, there are permissions and those sorts of things. We'll be very careful to ensure that any students that are on those, that those permissions have been granted in prior by the parents. But the idea is to train the students that whatever they're producing will actually be broadcast in a public forum or in a public sense. So adding that level of this is legitimate broadcasting ability.
So what is the timing on the 118,762 as the grant? Is that coming in 1 year, or is that phased out over a couple of years?
The grant itself was 1 year in length. So as soon as the board, the Regulatory Commission Board approves it on May 15th, we'll have access to those funds. We'll have 1 year to spend those funds down, the bulk of which will actually be purchased over the summer. About $93,000 of the grant is around equipment purchase. And in order to make sure that the students have those beginning in the fall, we'll be making those purchases this summer. The remainder of the grant is all around training. So Metro East Community Media will be providing in-kind training to our staff that will be involved in the production of those videos.
Tim, you said that the grant is like to support the creativity of Black and Brown students. How are students going to be recruited? Didn't forecasting already happen? And if the courses are for next year? Like, I'm just wondering how we're targeting students for these courses?
Yeah, great question. So my understanding, as you look at Dexter and Gordon Russell specifically, those schools are they're more diverse than most of our middle schools. So with those two specifically, I know that the assumption is that with forecasting, we're meeting the needs of students for more diverse middle schools. For Westo, I'm not sure what recruitment process that they used, so I don't have a direct answer for that one, and I can check and see. Yes.
I have a quick question. So we'll get the equipment, we'll get the stuff in, we'll have training available. How will this be sustainable then? I've seen over the years where something comes in and it's really great and wonderful and it winds up being personnel dependent. And when that personnel moves on or does something else, we lose the program. So what's built into this to make sure that it stays at least viable as long as the equipment still works?
Good question. So as far as the staffing is concerned, there are a couple of folks that were going to be here tonight to help with the presentation, but they ended up going home. They're teaching tomorrow, so I totally understand. But the staff that we have involved are heavily committed to the program. The equipment itself, even though the grant is only a year in length, should last well beyond the length or the time period of the grant. Also, the partnership with Metro East means that there's ongoing opportunities for training. So should new staff be brought in, there'll be opportunities that way to continue that partnership.
All right, so if there's no more questions about the proposal, is there a motion?
Yeah. I would move to approve receipt of the grant from the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission in the amount of $118,762.22, pending appropriation of the funds by the MHCRC.
Been moved by Blake, seconded by Sean, to approve the receipt of the grant from the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission in the amount of $118,762.22, pending appropriation of the funds by the MHCRC. Any further discussion about the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Next up, we have a brief, looks like just an information item. Mr. Clegg?
Thank you, Chair Allen, members of the board. In the March business meeting, the board approved the surplus of 3 portable buildings that now reside out at Springwater Trail. Once that was approved, we moved forward with posting an ad in the Oregonian the Gresham Outlook to advertise those for sale. We received 1 bid and for the amount of $201,000. The estimated value of those buildings, 3 buildings, was $50,000. So we got a good bid back on that. The sale has been executed with Damascus Christian School, and they will be moving those buildings off of Springwater Trail starting when school is out. And they have till July 31st to have them moved in order for the school to prepare for the upcoming school year.
Okay, thank you for the update. It's nice to have those go someplace where they'll have some more use out of them. All right. Well, it was a sealed bid, and we had it actually at the meeting where we were told that it was. I remember that meeting that it was going to be surplus. We had no more use for it. So good question, Myra. I do appreciate that. Yes, no. Next up, Mr. Clegg also paid lunch equity for 2024-25, and there you go. The title is misleading because 24-25 is past. So go.
It's done in a year in arrears. They look at your prior year balance. Are things being done equitably in the current year? We will come back again with the same thing. It's just a process required by the federal government that all institutions or organizations providing lunch or meals through their program evaluate each year their equity of their program, the pricing. There is an exemption that is allowed that if a organization and district has a positive ending fund balance in the prior year, they can apply for that exemption. And because GBSD does have a positive balance at this time, we've applied for that exemption for filing any kind of formal plan on how to address that. I will say that if that exemption goes away or the fund balance drops below that, then we will have to look at doing the equity plan, and there's a little bit more paperwork to that the board would have to approve.
So are we allowed to take into account the fact that because we provide food for our students, that it decreases the amount of staff time and accounting time and trying to do collections and things? Are we allowed to count that as an offset that says this is a good thing for us to keep doing? And
It doesn't allow for that. That conversation's been had. It would be nice, but no, it just kind of looks at what are we charging and is it equitable?
so for our information, then in the future, maybe for the board, we might have that as just part of it, to make sure that we're including what's the total cost if we even backfill a little bit versus having to have people who are in charge of trying to get money from families that are unable to pay on a regular basis. So, okay, that was information only, no board action required for that. Question, please.
Yeah, are we close to not having positive fund balance?
We are not. We have in the past 2 years, a lot of it due to COVID. And we are actually exceeding, we have an excess fund balance as determined by the state. They determine that 3 months of operations is an adequate fund balance. But because of COVID relief predominantly, we have a large fund balance that we are spending down. We discussed, equipment purchases with the board. That process is ongoing, and we're whittling it down, and we will have to get at some point to that 3 month operating costs. But even at that point, we would have a positive balance, which as long as the exemption's in place, we'd be allowed to apply for that.
Sorry, Dennis, this is information I'm happy to get later, but do you happen to know what the reimbursement rate is and what the difference is? What kind of does Chartwell's charge and
No,
what is the?
I will get that information.
Okay. I just, my generalized concern is our community does have folks who qualify for free and reduced lunch. It also has a great deal of folks who are just above free and reduced lunch. And those folks, if you think, if they make 186% of federal poverty level, they do not get free and reduced lunch, nor do they get food stamps, nor do they get WIC. And so now we are saddling aggressively what I think the feds would qualify as a lower middle class family, which typifies East County. So I just think being mindful of what options are actually available is going to be important.
Thank you. All right, I think we're done with the presentations. Nobody else is left in the room to give presentations, so we're done. Announcements. I will say that we did have a couple of requests for follow-up on our public comments regarding the Salquist property as well as the Kelly Creek school. And so those have been forwarded on to Deputy Superintendent Klinger, who will also be working then with Superintendent Cook when he returns. Announcements, May 21st, 2025, board work session, 6 p.m., Partnership Room, Center for Advanced Learning. June 4th, 2025, we have a budget hearing at 6:45 in the council chambers, Public Safety and Schools building. It's a 15-minute hearing for people to make a final comment about our budget. It's one of those where we sit here for 15 minutes, and if anybody has anything about the budget, then they talk about it. Otherwise, we go on to our meeting, which will then be on June 4th, 2025. Our regular board business meeting at 7 p.m., council chambers, Public Safety and Schools building. And at this point, we do not currently have on June 4th a work session scheduled. So we just have our regular business meeting on that night. So with that, we are adjourned before 10 o'clock. Thank you for your time this evening, and we are adjourned. Thank you.